Comics Plus, what is going on? Akasan here. It's time for a little bit more of the House of the Dragon. We are going to see new Rockstars. We haven't done this in a little bit, but I figured it'd be kind of a good idea because I didn't really have time to have a nice breakdown with you guys last time on the reaction because I was pressed for time. But let's go ahead and take a look at what Eric at the new Rockstars has to say about House of the Dragon. Here's their breakdown. Let's go!
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of House of the Dragon Episode 4, in which this series defies Game of Thrones tradition of normalizing incest by, wow. But did it actually happen in this story told by unreliable narrators?
Good point, good point.
But does that even matter if the Maesters hook you up with that good old plan T? Let's do what we do here at New Rockstars and go deeper into the visuals than anyone else cares to, and expose the deeper layers of meaning that you might have overlooked.
Let's do it.
Episode.
Let's
Starting
do
with
it.
a very easy to miss update to the opening title sequence, the bloodline around Alicent's dial, which last week was updated to now meet Viserys' bloodline, now in episode 4 branches downward, but doesn't yet touch the dial below. The opening shot shows a Valyrian steel necklace that Daemon gave Rhaenyra, the symbol that's been on Rhaenyra's dial, and notice how she fondles it, foreshadowing the suitor that she really wants to fondle this episode. Ugh, I'm sorry. Other suitors line up to propose to Rhaenyra. We see one from House Frey, that's a sigil of the twins. There's a House Tully Fish behind him, and then House Strong. Meanwhile, the old man speaking, according to the captions, is named Beric Dondarrion, who, of course, is not the Lightning Lord from Game of Thrones era, but this earlier Lord Dondarrion says,
Blackhaven are unscalable battle stones. The castle is surrounded by deep, dry moat.
Okay.
It is well fortified against any future Dornish incursions.
yes, Blackhaven is the home of House Dondarrion in the Stormlands to the west, where Dornish incursions would be a big issue. Actually, this is likely the same Lord Dondarrion to whom Sir Criston Cole's father served as steward. This was before Criston fought in some of those Dornish incursions. That rumble of thunder that we hear tells us that we are at Storm's End, the home of House Baratheon. Actually, that's Lord Boremund Baratheon, sigil of the stag, seated beside Rhaenyra. The Baratheons and Targaryens at this point in history are pretty good friends, with Lord Orys Baratheon becoming the hand to Aegon the Conqueror. The young Lord Blackwood's collar shows
This
two
guy.
ravens. Actually, that house's sigil is a raven surrounding a dead hero.
Somebody said, I saw on Twitter, somebody was like, this kid is the definition of fuck around and find out. Like, oh man, he should be Robin. Let's go.
Wood tree. He says his house descends from the First Men. The First Men being one of the three ethnic groups from whom Westeros humans descended, along with the Rhoynar and the Andals. The First Men formed the pact with the Children of the Forest and adopted the Children of the Forest's old gods, thus the Weirwood tree in the Blackwood sigil. Lord Blackwood claims that his family helped Aegon the Conqueror, referring to House Blackwood siding with Aegon when he torched Harrenhal and conquered the Riverlands. As we saw in the series opening scene, 'twas Dragonfire that killed this beast. So yeah, young Lord Blackwood is trying to ride some coattails. And bullying him is Lord Bracken. Notice the red stallion of House Bracken. The Blackwoods and the Brackens have long hated each other. Actually, in the text, Samwell Blackwood and Amos Bracken duel for Rhaenyra's affection, but during her visit to the Trident. Turns out this Blackwood is not Samwell Blackwood. HBO confirmed it is Willem Blackwood. And I think they changed the setting of this duel because they wanted to establish Storm's End as an important location for major events later in the series. And for all you book readers out there, it does make us wonder, will fated duels at Storm's End go down the same way in this series as they do in the book? But that's a question for like season 3. Anyway, Blackwood totally defeats
Damn, we going that
Bracken
far?
here. So points
Season
on the board
3.
for the blood of the First Men. Just an interesting recurring theme on the series so far, that indigenous Westerosi virtues, Weirwood trees, the White Hart, First Men bloodlines seem to bear more strength than the currently more valued virtues like dragons and Valyrian blood. There's probably some metaphor here in invaders, colonialism, and imperialism, but I'll let you draw those conclusions. A little detail I love, as Bracken spews up blood, little Blackwood takes in his first kill and he looks like he's about to vomit.
Yeah, I like that. I like that too.
The same way. Oh, by the way, Epic Hero merch is a new shirt, Ash in Ruin, which you can get at EpicHeroShop.com. Caraxes shoulder checks the boat. You can actually spot Daemon riding on Caraxes back there. So he did this on purpose.
Right?
And Rhaenyra smiles as if to say, challenge accepted, uncle. We see a close-up of Viserys' crown, underlying the significance of crowns in this setting and how wearing anything resembling a crown is an affront to the monarch. Viserys dons this and carries Blackfire to
I'm shocked this dude is still alive, the way he's like regressing or turning into stone or something like that. I don't know.
Valyrian steel sword of Aegon the Conqueror. Rhaenyra enters with this eager crowd, and notice how she tries to hide herself behind the onlookers, but Viserys does notice her arrival. We see the moment he frowns, because yeah, Rhaenyra still had another 2 months on this Suitor tour that he spent all this time arranging for her. Daemon enters the room for the first time since he was banished in episode 1 with shorter hair and a crown made of wood, carrying the hammer of Kragus the Crab Feeder. Rhaenyra follows him through the crowd as he approaches the king, setting up her following this Pied Piper uncle throughout this episode. But Daemon offers the hammer to Viserys.
Pied
Add it to the
Piper.
chair.
The Iron Throne is, of course, composed of weapons wielded against a Targaryen.
Aegon.
But in a way, this is also a kind of insult to Viserys, as this
Right?
hammer would
That's
be
what
a
I
more
was
blunt
thinking.
instrument, less likely to cut the cursed king than all the swords he keeps cutting himself on. And at first, Daemon keeps them guessing in his loyalty.
Once we smash the Triarchy, they name me King of the Narrow Sea. But I know that there is only one true king, Your Grace.
But Daemon ultimately offers Viserys his crown, as if it's a meaningless honorary thing that was given to him by others. But notice that massive ruby wired to the front of the crown. Targaryens regularly adorn their pieces with rubies. Rubies on Rhaenyra's necklace, rubies on the Conqueror's crown. So
Oh, wow.
Daemon clearly
Good
made
point.
this crown himself, in the fashion of the Conqueror. The crown that Viserys said was in his dream. So this is a total power move by Daemon. It's meant to insult Viserys. But Viserys lets it go and hugs his brother. And notice how the bottom 2 glove fingers, again, fold emptily. Just another example of Paddy Considine doing some limp glove work to show how his ring and pinky fingers have withered off. And the guard analysis suggests
Perhaps Prince Daemon would care for a tour of the gallery.
This was
He
funny
hasn't
though.
yet seen
He's
any
like,
travels to you by Norvis and Quahor.
Norvos and Quahor are the 2 inland free cities of Essos, meaning they weren't part of that maritime triarchy and likely wanted to curry favor with the crown to separate them from Mir, Lys, and Tirosh. I actually wonder if Norvos and Quahor could be the ones supplying those horny bestiality tapestries that covered the Red Keep. Rhaenyra and Daemon discuss royal marriages for men versus women and bring up Daemon's current wife, Rhea Royce, in the Vale.
No.
He keeps on saying brown bitch, right?
Totaluti ombriago rus
Yeah.
nagiumban.
The veil.
Despite Daemon's reputation as a womanizer, this series has so far only ever shown him as impotent. It was not working with Mazzaria in episode 1, he lied about her being pregnant in episode 2, Rhea Royce is without child, and he struggles with Rhaenyra in this episode. So is Daemon's impotency a temporary obstacle that he's meant to overcome in the series, or a tragic curse that he's destined to
that'd be
kill himself on
interesting.
in a series of bad choices? In this scene, Daemon seems
I think
to
he
suggest
just-
it's the latter.
It's the mood. It's the
Rhaenyra's chat
mood.
with Alicent earlier about being trapped in a castle with screaming children, having to squeeze out more children, is shown in the middle part of this
Yep,
episode.
really
Meanwhile,
got to her.
The girl goes wild. Starting with Daemon's note to Rhaenyra, written in High Valyrian. This is the written form of this language, developed by the linguists of this series and of Game of Thrones, David J.
Okay.
Peterson, the guy who also came up with the ins and outs of Dothraki. And while he based the spoken language of Valyrian partly on Latin, when it comes to the written form, he went in a different direction. Because notice how, unlike English
It looks
writing,
like-
which uses a glyph for each consonant
Right.
and vowel, High Valyrian is a logographic system in which a single glyph can represent an entire word. At a recent expo, Peterson actually said they developed 365 unique glyphs for this series. Now, I do not know all 365 of those glyphs, but by looking at Peterson's Instagram posts, it looks like the 3rd and 4th line of this note that Daemon wrote Rhaenyra have part of his glyph for the word brick, which is likely an instruction to push a specific brick to open the secret.
They should put out a encyclopedia or something. They're like, I don't know if did they ever do that with the Kryptonian as well? Like I know that about 10 years ago they really started making Kryptonian print, like, and as a font and everything. Like, I wonder if they have ever put out some sort of like encyclopedia for people to decipher. That would be kind of cool. All right, Negan, later, man.
Passageway. And yes, I have been pointing out how Daemon
I
is the
can
master of
show
space.
you
He
the
knows all
world.
secret passageways that his ancestor, Maegor the Cruel, had constructed in the Red
Yes.
Keep and then killed off all the construction workers to keep that secret. And now, according to this drawing, this passageway opens up in Rhaenyra's bedroom right beside her bed. And if your uncle telling you that is not creepy to you, I don't know what will be. So Rhaenyra passes through the basement containing the skull of Balerion, the Black Dread. A close-up of its teeth shows some mice nibbling, showing how various sets of eyes are going to be on Rhaenyra tonight. that she's
Good
not aware
point.
of.
Good
Actually,
point.
later,
And there were,
Alicent
yeah, I
pointed
was
out
gonna
some
say that there was a
backgrounds
rat
signaling
up there
that these
too.
passages from the royal quarters to the tunnels below are open, and she's missing out on the fun. Daemon and Rhaenyra stroll through the city, intercut with these shots of a burst of flames from a metal dragon head. This is the one that's actually used in the alley that leads to the corner where the mummers are doing their play. Rhaenyra passes a blind woman who offers to tell tell her death. To Rhaenyra, this woman would be the literal form of the crone, one of the seven. And when you pair this with all these recurring shots of dragon fire, I don't know, that might be part of Rhaenyra's future. We get this moment with Viserys and Alicent at the bath, an interesting parallel with Viserys and Aemma at the bath. The bath precedes the fall, because notice here he has cuts and wounds all over his arms and shoulders and back, likely each of them different cuts from the swords of the Iron Throne. When Viserys later makes her join him in his chamber, we see his entire back, and it's now covered in festering scabs. So I stare at screens all day, and that can be tough on my eyes. It used to be the case that I'd help my eyes out by wearing a pair of blue
Help your eyes out by looking at some of this stuff right here. All right, let's get into it.
The Daemon actor is mostly shown in the background of the scene, reacting. The way Daemon in this series is lurked in the shadows, saying very little. And you'll notice how all the actors are male, which was the tradition in real-world Elizabethan times, but a contrast with the mummers that we meet in Game of Thrones 200 years later in Essos, the city of Braavos, the troop that includes
Times
the
have
actress,
changed.
Lady Crane. Rhaenyra mirrors Arya Stark a lot in this episode, dressing as a boy and sneaking out of the Red Keep through the same tunnels that Arya did. And like Arya, when she saw that mummers play in Braavos, this highborn lady is learning the oversimplified truth of how the common folks see all this royal drama. It's not exactly what they'd expect. As she runs, Rhaenyra runs into the captain of the City Watch, Sir Harwin Strong.
Sir Harwin.
Princess,
Don't.
you take care, boy. Next time you might not be so lucky.
You remember Sir Harwin? He joined the hunt in episode 3 and gave Rhaenyra that approving grin when she returned with the slain boar.
Oh
Now,
shit,
in
that
our
was
private
him?
quarters,
That's
the
dope.
bed that Alicent sleeps in is the literal same bed and headboard of the bed that Queen Aemma died in.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
understandable that Alicent would have the same room, but they couldn't change out the bed? Come on, why would you do that to Alicent? Now, thanks to YouTube, we won't be showing or really describing most of the sexual imagery in the Bravo
Yeah,
sequence,
let's
but
not.
Director Claire Kilner did describe how she tried to shoot the sex scenes in
From
this
a female
episode
point
from
of view,
Rhaenyra's
yeah.
point of view,
Right.
as opposed to from the male point of view, which traditionally is how a lot of sex scenes have been shot. So you'll notice as this intercuts with Alicent, we actually spend most of the
I actually
runtime
really
on
like this
close-up
scene here.
reactions from Rhaenyra and Alicent, and they're contrasting excited and bored expressions. The sex that both of them are experiencing is really framed through the way they're emotionally processing it.
Right.
But really, including Rhaenyra and Daemon's hookup at all in this show is hugely important because it lends a bit of objectivity to something that was in the text presented as unreliable gossip from the account of a mummer named Mushroom. But
Okay.
notice how this scene is shot with hardly any lighting and
Yep.
really a lack of clarity over how far exactly it goes
Right.
downstairs. Like if you rewatch the scene yourself, not here, you'll notice that Daemon does lower Rhaenyra's trousers. He presses himself against her, but there's no like thrusting. And soon after that, she just turns around and takes the reins in her advances.
And he
that's
didn't
when
like
Daemon
that.
totally disengages. So it's tough to watch this scene at first glance, and well, it's actually just tough
I
to
was
watch
like
period,
this the whole
though.
time.
It is difficult to watch this scene
What?
once and come out of it with a clear understanding of how far these two actually went. Therefore, in the context of this
Oh god, are we really about to have that conversation, Sharks? No, I don't think. No, he didn't. He tried. Like I think he attempted to, but he was missing. Whatever he was trying to do, he was trying to do it, and he was like he missed a few times or whatever. And then that's when she turned around because she was like into it, but he just could not get into it. Like it's so. I mean, we've not to go into too many specifics. He refused at the very last moment. Nah, I definitely believe that. See, I thought, because I was, at first glance, my first reaction, I just didn't want to see it, right? It was so uncomfortable. So I just assumed that he got it in there. But when rewatching it and editing, and while editing it, it didn't look like, it just looked like she was getting turned on. And she was getting pushed up on, but nothing was actually going in. And like, cause yeah, he couldn't. He was dealing with. He wasn't dealing with drunk dick, as we say. He just could not get into the zone. Very interesting.
brothel, any witness to this hookup couldn't truly testify with certainty over how far it went either. So that way, this series, you could say, maintains the unreliable narrator element from the book. All we know is that this uncle and niece definitely went too far, but that only the two of them actually know how far it really went. And that afterward, each of them made separate decisions on how to recount that truth to others.
Correct.
I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of emails yelling at me for that one. I'm just saying, I don't think anyone who watched that scene for the first time could look at that horrible lighting and say, I know exactly what happened.
I am no, Eric's completely right. Like, I barely, if you see my full reaction on Patreon, my hands are up here half the time, just like, oh no, whoa, like, what? You know, it's like nobody really knows. All we know is that she was he walked out and she was butt naked, pants down.
See this shaggy-haired boy outside who follows Rhaenyra. He was likely also among those peepers on Daemon and Mysaria in
possibly.
episode 1, part of the network who reported to Otto that
Right.
Daemon called Bail
Like the
on air
birds.
for a day, something that we also did not see Daemon objectively saying on screen, but he took credit for anyway. Rhaenyra
Right.
goes home and seduces Sir Criston, which is also an
Terrible.
alteration from the unreliable account that's in the book, which claims that Daemon coached Rhaenyra into seducing Sir Criston. But here, it is
Oh.
fully Rhaenyra's own choice. And that's proven with, I think, my favorite detail of this episode. The next morning after sleeping with Sir Criston, and for the rest of the episode, notice how Rhaenyra has now switched out of the Valyrian steel necklace that Daemon gave her and that she was touching in the opening shot.
Yeah, I
Now,
did.
she shelves that necklace and has reverted to a simpler golden necklace because she no longer needs Daemon to have power in this episode. Now, Otto
No longer needs Daemon to have power in this episode. So she kind of ditched Daemon after this, possibly. I don't know, man. These freaky ass Targaryens, dude. Yeah. How come nobody complains when Jon Snow did it? Because, you know, we see Jon Snow as a, well, even then, I think, didn't we get the big reveal with Jon Snow right around that same time? Didn't we? Like, we knew what Jon Snow was to Dany, right? Before it, right? Like, I think an episode prior to that, possibly. I don't remember. I just, I think we did. I think most of us did, right? I thought it was kind of freaky, right? Yeah, I thought it was kind of freaky. I was like, oh, snap. But at the same time, we were like, look, these are like grown-ass adults, you know? I know Rhaenyra is supposed to be 19 or 18 or something at this point in time in the story, I guess. But it's still, you know, she looks like a kid. She still looks like a kid to me. So I think that's where we all kind of draw the line at this point, you know? And it's like grooming, right? So, yeah, let's go.
meets with that shaggy-haired boy, whom we learn is a messenger from someone called the White Worm. And this same boy in the next scene
Oh,
is
shit.
to Mysaria, and she is dressed in a
That's right.
slender white
That's
gown.
right. That
so it is
is the
confirmed.
kid.
Mysaria is the White Worm, Otto's primary contact, who has been passing Otto intel on Daemon
Oh.
with the help of these spies. Like
Fuck. Good job, new Rockstars. Did not make that connection. Okay. So she might also be like, oh, wow. Okay.
Varys, and like Qyburn, she has the League of Little Birds, which makes sense because this character will go on to become a Master of Whisperers. I like this shot where Daemon's blindness to her is reflected
That was a
with the
spoiler.
blinding sunlight behind Mysaria as she hands him the hangover tea. Now, despite all this, we still do not know if Mysaria's reports are objectively true or just some salacious gossip that paints Daemon in a scandalous light, and Daemon just doesn't deny any of it. Actually, one could argue that Daemon knows Mysaria is feeding this gossip to Otto and allows it to happen,
Right.
knowing that
I-
Otto will spill this tea to Viserys.
And I thought about this as well because it's like, why did he take off Rhaenyra's cap and everything in the whorehouse? And I was like, bro, what are you doing, man? Like, it's like he wanted all of that to happen. I'm pretty sure he did. Because, you know, he sobered up real quick when he was just like, wed her to me. I was like, ugh, dude. I did like the hand thing like you with Arya Stark scene. That was uncomfortable too, because for us, Arya was essentially she was like a daughter to us. So like I would say most of the audience, she was a family member. She grew up. So it's like, man, that's like me watching my daughter drop her drawers and everything about to get some. Like I'd be like, I'll be happy. I'm like, yeah, be assertive like that. But at the same time, I don't want to see that,
embarrassing the king and forcing Otto to admit that he is using spies, which makes him look pretty bad, which would ultimately force Viserys to choose between his hand and his brother, which Daemon might.
Okay, so that part, I don't know. I guess that's a little weird. Like I always thought, like he fired him for the wrong reasons. It's still good that he did it, but he did it for the wrong reasons. Like the hand using spies, how else is he going to get information? How else is he going to keep word on the streets? Like that's pretty obvious. Like, but I guess the problem is, I guess where the king would draw the line is like, wait, you're spying on my own family, though. That's the problem.
Might have plotted to remove both himself and Otto as morally corrupt equals. Really, it comes
Right.
down to how smart do we think Daemon is? I don't know, he may just be a self-destructive prat. But I just
True.
love the way Matt
True.
Smith plays this with such cryptic glances, very few words, and the way this character is written to just own up to the things that would hurt his brother the most. Otto mentions the Hour of the Owl, calling back the Dragon Keeper's reference to the Hour of the Bat in episode 2. So
Oh.
the hours through the night go after sunset, the Hour of the Bat, then the Hour of the Eel, then the Hour of Ghosts, then the Hour of the Owl, then the Hour of the Wolf, and then the
Really?
Hour of the Nightingale.
Really? Really? That's quite interesting, actually.
My favorite scene of the episode. Wolf and then the Hour.
Sunset, bat, eel, ghost. I wonder why eel. Why does eel come after bat, then owl, and then the wolf? Huh.
Or the Nightingale. So
And
in
the
the
Nightingale.
Godswood, the scene with Rhaenyra and Alicent, my favorite scene of the episode, because Rhaenyra responds perfectly to the accusation. She admits to drinking and to partying with Daemon, but when it comes to having sex with him, she feigns disgust.
Yeah.
Is a vile accusation.
Is it? You Targaryens do have queer customs.
Queer customs.
And Daemon certainly knows no limit.
Alicent, your grace, sister, you must know.
She threw out all the
I
lines
don't
at
believe
that
such
moment.
gossip.
I love the contrasting communication compared to
Right.
these two in the previous episode. Because in episode 3, Rhaenyra cold shouldered the queen in the same location. But now Rhaenyra comes to her, appealing to her by name and then by her formal
Right.
title,
Sister.
Your Grace. And then through their sisterhood companionship. And as Rhaenyra did when she was making out with her uncle, she so deftly shifts, first from the defensive, but then to the aggressor.
My father is no gossip.
Well, certainly he's been misled. He could not have witnessed such a thing.
Why not?
Because it did not happen.
He was told.
Told?
That you...
And Rhaenyra catches Alicent for basing this on an anonymous
Yep.
third-person account, one that Alicent was not even supposed to hear. She was eavesdropping. Dropping eaves! So Rhaenyra, knowing she has her, crosses behind her, closer to
Yep.
the judging stare.
And then
of the
she's
eyes
got
of
the high
Weirwood.
ground.
She is literally on the higher ground now,
Yep.
like a judge in a courtroom. And this way, if you think about it, Rhaenyra also avoids having to herself look into the eyes of the Weirwood tree because she is totally lying through her teeth in the scene.
I am the princess. To question my virtue is an act of treason.
Yes, and now by turning the tables on
Right.
the queen, Rhaenyra has control over the conversation, and she can feed Alicent whatever version of the events that she wants, and Alicent will be forced to at least hear her out. Meanwhile, Daemon takes a very different strategy against the accusations.
He was like,
just a
yeah,
girl.
I did it.
Your niece.
Rhaenyra's a woman grown. Better her first experience would be with me than some whore. I want Rhaenyra. I'll take her as she is and wed her in the tradition of our house.
Yeah, so Daemon totally owns it, but he also lies, just on the other side of the truth. He lies about his impotency. He claims that he fully did the deed. And why? He does it to enrage his brother and to make a power play. Viserys shows Rhaenyra how Aegon's dagger contains glyphs hidden by pyromancers in the Valyrian steel.
From my blood.
I'm still wondering what the power play is without, I don't want people to spoil it for me, but I am very much wondering, like, what is this power play? Like, did Daemon really think that Viserys was going to go with that? All right, cool. You guys tried to fuck. Okay, here, have my daughter. Like, okay.
Come the prince that was promised. And his will be the song of ice and fire.
Oh, isn't
This
that's the Lord of Lights song, right?
Inscription officially merges the two prophecies in Game of Thrones that
Right.
we all pretty much assumed were referring to the same thing at this point. We learned in
Right.
episode 1 that the Targaryen belief in the Song of Ice and Fire was something passed down from Targaryen ruler to Targaryen ruler, from Aegon the Conqueror, maybe even before. But the prince that was promised referred to a prophecy from believers in the Lord of Light, Azor Ahai
Right.
reborn, the wielder of Lightbringer who would vanquish the darkness. Melisandre initially believed it would be Stannis Baratheon, but then
Right.
when Stannis
Jon
died,
Snow.
she then thought it was Jon Snow. Meanwhile, Daenerys learned that the High Valyrian
Who ended up
prince
being
was
in
actually
that?
gender neutral and believed
Right.
that she could be the princess that was promised. Game of Thrones final season arguably deprioritized
Yep.
these prophecies.
Yep.
While Jon and Dany were important to the defeat of the White Walkers, Arya cast the killing blow, and
Yep.
neither Jon nor Dany sat on the Iron Throne during this war. So I don't know, maybe George R. R. Martin has different plans for the ending of his A Song of Ice and Fire novels that he's trying to set up in this series. But either way, the description in this dagger proves that the root of those two strands of the same prophecy were really the same. The pyromancers of Valyria and Aegon, his grandfather Aenar the Exile, who was the one who fled Valyria with his family after the dreams of his daughter, Daenerys the Dreamer, and who Who knows how far back that dagger goes, but wherever it was, that root inspired both the Targaryen bloodline and the followers of this culty religion in Essos. So Rhaenyra ultimately concedes to wed Laenor, but only Viserys removes his hand Otto from the High Council. And since Viserys has been slowly losing his literal hand over these 4 episodes, it seems inevitable that this would happen. Rhaenyra and Daemon were successful.
I really did feel bad for Otto though. Like, I know people don't like him, but like, and you know, maybe he did go too far, but you know, he seemed fairly loyal, but with his own interests as well. And that, I guess that's what the problem is.
Removing their most effective obstacle to the throne, Otto Hightower. But House Hightower's got more tricks up their sleeve, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But if the Maesters have been part of a deliberate plot of medical malpractice, we should be concerned about this holy hand grenade of Plan BT that Mellows Rhaenyra to prevent a pregnancy from Daemon. But considering Daemon was impotent, Rhaenyra would not need this for Daemon. But what about for Sir Criston? Has her masquerade truly worked if the king still thinks she's sullied herself enough to need this? I think what scares Rhaenyra here is that through her political victory, she has still outed herself as an impure game player, and she no longer has that shield of innocence to hide behind. Thank you so much for supporting these analyses every week. I swear, I spend a lot of time watching.
I think if she drank it, it's like she's accepting that she did F
So the fact that
Daemon.
you're so patient with me every week just means the world. And thank you. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at EAVoss. Follow New Rockstars. Subscribe to New Rockstars for more analysis of everything you love.
I've been very curious, like the whole idea of like, okay, because he said it's from the king. Is it really from the king? I don't know. I don't trust anybody up in here, dude. And then they kept on showing camera angles. Obviously, the New Rockstars couldn't show it, but every time that Rhaenyra and Sir Criston were doing it, they kept on giving shots of like you were like someone peering through the walls and everything, peering through the bedroom and creeping up like the way Daemon would have. Obviously, Daemon he was too shit-faced probably, but I'm assuming that it was a Meister watching, or somebody figured it out, and or somebody, so they were like, yeah, let's handle this. But I highly doubt that the king was involved at all with that last Plan B option there. It's crazy, man. That's crazy. Well, we shall see. We shall see after the time jump. I'm sure. Interesting. Very interesting. Somebody else says, I think it was a very calculated move and manipulation on Daemon's part. The person that put the most effort into avoiding Daemon as the subject of conversation is gone. Like they said that at this point, it no longer matters if they did or didn't engage in coupling. It's the grapevine and it's in the grapevine and rumor mill. Yeah. By the king, you mean the lizard? Dr. Kurt Connors? Say what? Really? Is that same guy? Otto is the guy that plays the lizard. Okay, well there you go. There you go. All right. Anyways, guys, Red Red Nation, stand up, speak up. It was also always a pleasure to check out everything that's going on with the New Rockstars and the way they break it down. Like, I really never made that up. I mean, I wasn't paying attention that much to the white worm situation, because that episode I was like, yo, what's going on? But I just assumed that the kind of like Varys and Littlefinger, I just thought they directly report to Otto, the birds and spiders, right? But all good, man. Very good work. Very good work indeed. All right, we'll talk to you on the next one. We're out. Peace.